So today I'm here with my client, Marco. He's a good friend, and he's the founder at 222 UGC. So if you just want to give like a little bit of insight of, what you guys do at your company and just a little bit about your experience so far. But yeah, just quick insight.
Yeah, man, for sure, for sure. So 222, what we do is we produce performance ad creatives for D2C brands primarily. And, we've been around for about a year and a half, 2 years, sort of, we were floating between sort of 50K, 100K MRR. And that was pretty much off the basis, as you know, of personal network. So our issue has been, we've got a fairly, experienced team in other verticals, but our problem has always been unlocking sort of scalable, sustainable client acquisition. And we have this fantastic personal network, which, is almost, dare I say, a bit beyond our years. And we've sort of survived off that, between 50K, 100K. And of course, when you have a warm referral coming in with a tier one D2C brand, it doesn't take any client acquisition skills, and it certainly doesn't really take any sales skills to close the lead. Whatever you say, you're going to have a 40, 50% close rate. Your only job is not to fuck it up. So that's sort of where we were at before we started working with you. And I think when we first approached you, it was a case of how can we build a sustainable client acquisition system that's best in class cold email, but we're looking for something more. And so that was definitely the position that we were in before working with you.
So and you guys were doing a little bit of cold email before. What was your sort of experience with doing, like cold outreach before? Because since you guys were had a really good network, sort of relying on referrals and stuff like that. What was the cold outreach side of things for you?
We had a nightmare experience. What we did is we went absolute turbo on the Apollo accounts. I think we bought 30 domains. We hit every single domain to the max settings, warmed it up for a day and a half. Then we got bored and impatient, scraped every fucking email under the sun, just went absolute turbo. And then what ended up happening was we just burnt every single one of our domains, including our personal domains. And on top of that, we sent out a couple emails going with the angle of hey, first name, we've just been forwarded your details from one of our lead investors, let's chat. But it just so happened that we just reached out to a D2C brand that one of our investors actually has invested in, and we were basically shitting on their ad creatives. And this investor invested in them for the sole purpose of getting their growth sorted. So we received a whole load of internal and external backlash. So we had a disastrous attempt at the cold email to begin with, to be honest with you. And we came to you, I think, with literally 30 burns domains saying, for lack of a better term, please help.
Yeah. I remember you sent me a message. It was I think you said we lost a tier one client to spam or something like that.
Yeah, literally one of our North Star clients, I won't say who it is, but a tier one D2C brand that everyone knows, they were in, on the call, they were in, they were fully in. And then they kind of ghosted for 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then 5 weeks later, they're like, oh, sorry, guys. We didn't hear from you. You went to our spam. We actually went with one of your competitors. That's it.
That's tough, bro. That's tough. So obviously it was a little bit of a struggle back then, but we sorted it out. Yeah. So what's the experience been, once we kind of went through, audited your current system and then, implemented our new systems into you guys' outreach system, basically?
Yeah, dude, it's been fantastic. In a nutshell, revenue is 3-4x what it was before we started working with you. Sort of we're pushing $500,000 now, which is fantastic. We get, obviously, as we get revenue from a few different sources, not just UGC ad creatives. But yeah, the before state was we didn't have any client acquisition system set up in place, and the after state is we have, as far as I'm concerned, a best in class one, booking, a really steady amount of calls per week with a great close rate. And it's been fantastic. I think, look, the start was the correct, prudent approach, whereby, it was a case of let's set everything up properly, let's properly warm everything up. Let's go slow and steady, otherwise we're going to make the same mistakes. So I remember at the first couple of weeks, it was a bit is this going to work? I think some people in the internal team were a bit skeptical of cold email just in general. Some people thought it might come across a bit spammy or whatever. But, as you know, even today, we've just taken a call with a tier one D2C beauty brand. And really high intent there. So look, the system does work. And I think from our perspective, it's sort of, set and forget. We've got you guys sort of plugged into Slack. We get the notifications when calls get booked. We see it coming through Calendly. And I think we're in a really, in a really nice place right now.
Yeah, for sure. I love to hear that. So what would you guys say, like, you believe is the ROI you've gotten, not just like revenue wise, but even with like time, just like sense of mind, stuff like that. What would you say is like the sort of ROI you guys have gotten from working with us?
Yeah, top line sort of 3 to 4x total revenue since we started working with you. Sort of approaching $500,000 a month now in dollars. That is pounds. I think it's like 380 or something. The percentage of that comes directly from cold email. I think it's a tricky one because I think cold email was like the catalyst behind it all. And what's ended up happening is we're sort of reaching out to all these brands in cold email. They enter our ecosystem, and then we retarget them with ads, and they sort of come in. But actually, if you look at that central entry point into our client sort of acquisition ecosystem, it's definitely, cold email is one of two sort of of the big drivers. And then in terms of time saved, I remember before we had Ross, who was basically full-time on client acquisition and sales, and that was taking up all of his time. Now he is completely 100% ops and fulfillment, which is actually where his main talents lie. And being able to unlock him to be able to focus on that has had order of magnitude of positive effects on the rest of the business. For example, well, put it this way, for every order of magnitude you increase client retention, revenue targets sort of decrease proportionately on a monthly basis because you're retaining more customers, and that fundamentally comes down to product. And we've got a better product now because we have the team to be able to focus on it. And the only reason we have that is because their time was unlocked because we started working with you on the cold email and client acquisition side of things. So it had, as I said, top line 3 to 4x, but there are sort of deeper ROIs here at play that was sort of unlocked by you and your team. So honestly, we really couldn't be happier, man.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I really appreciate to hear that. This is kind of a weird question, but is there anything that's sort of like maybe surprised you about our strategy? Like, were you surprised about like the scripts, maybe just how we sort of work about things? Any sort of like, unique things that you noticed with our strategy?
Yeah, definitely the AI. I was fucking skeptical about AI being integrated in because you've seen it like before with some guys on Twitter posting about how they like personalize the first line of their email with AI, and it's pretty boilerplate. And there's a few secrets that you do that I won't say here because we know what they are to do with AI. But I think there was a time for the first few weeks where we were still like iterating and testing. And like if you looked at every stage of the funnel, like total email sends to replies to positive replies to calls booked, I think there were definitely some optimizations that needed to occur. And I think it was around like week 6, week 7, we implemented. I won't say what it is, but we know that AI strategy. And then sort of week after week, when you were giving us the funnel metric updates, it was like, okay, boom, 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 we're exactly where we need to be. And it was like tangibly translating to sales calls booked, and it was tangibly translating into deals being closed. So I was positively surprised with that one.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. Yeah, we won't talk about it because AI it's a little saucy.
Exactly.
But anyways, so I guess to wrap this up, where do you see us going with our partnership within like the next 6 to 12 months? Like, what do you think is like the current sort of runway that we're heading towards in terms of just like revenue goals, growing your business, stuff like that in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, look, it's no secret, we've got a few other things going on at 222. We have the tech platform that's very soon to be launched. We have a couple other things going on. We have the real estate project, whereby we've just raised 30 million for a co-living project. And within that is going to be the B2B arm, sort of building a community incubator. So we have a lot more projects coming up within 222. I think I definitely see variations of this client acquisition strategy being leveraged throughout all of our projects. So I definitely see it being like an integral part of our overall growth strategy going forward. In terms of tangible revenue goals, it's tricky to say. On the pure 222 side, it would be nice to be able to double, sort of going, sort of by this time next year. We're expecting, we've had, one of our best ever months ever, last month, and it's, the middle of summer. Everyone's fucking around with models in Saint-Tropez. So I was pleasantly surprised there. I think Q4, got big hopes for Q4. And then let's see what happens next year with the tech platform. But yeah, we're going for a big exit with this one, bigger than our previous ones. So I won't say an exact number, but definitely an order of magnitude of improvement, let's say.
Awesome, awesome. And I guess final question to wrap this all up is, for any other like agency owners or B2B founders in your sort of position, and they're kind of like on the fence, skeptical of whether, maybe they want to partner with us or not, what would be some like final words you would tell them? Maybe
Yes, I'll give you a really tangible example. So a good friend of mine who runs one of the UK's largest performance marketing agencies in the most saturated niche, Facebook ads for D2C brands, e-commerce brands. It's a tough economy out there at the moment. A lot of these brands are struggling to raise funds. And, this is a guy who's managed to scale to 250K without any client acquisition strategy at all, like pure warm referrals. And over the last 6 months, the guy is fucked. He doesn't know what to do because he's never done it before. He's never done it before. The clients are churning and he's like, okay, well, how do I, what lever do I press on or pull rather to generate more clients? He doesn't know where to turn. So he's starting to put out terrible ads and wasting loads of money and it's not going well for him. And this is an introduction that I was going to make for you, which is if you want a really sort of high leverage, high ROI way to actually secure clients, I would happily make the referral, happily make the recommendation to work with you guys. It worked for us. Our network is sort of the secret sauce at 222 is the people we know, the sort of the level of brands that we interact with on a daily basis. We have to safeguard that. We wouldn't introduce, people in our network to Fugazi, fucking VA, I won't say the name, but we all know who it is, fanboy agencies. And you're not that, you actually deliver. So yeah, any introduction you ever need in our network, you've got it. And I can only recommend you high enough to other agencies, other B2B businesses that need to leverage cold email to scale.
Awesome, bro. Really appreciate your time and the quick little interview, all the nice words and stuff like that. So
as always.
Yeah, this is Marco Stoll, founder at 222 UGC. He's an absolute beast of a client. He's a great guy. Lovely guy. Yeah, bro. Appreciate your time, man.
Likewise, brother. Take care, mate. Bye-bye.